fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
How to have the absolute best year of your life coming up here in 2022. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, Like Diamonds, back again, Salt Strong Unchurched, and I am really, really excited about 2022. And not just because it's a new year and this year was tough. I think all years are tough, right? I mean, I look back in my life, and maybe you're similar. I thought, my first year in college was tough. I thought even, just getting my first year in high school and going to a big public high school from a smaller junior high was tough. And having to fit in with new people that I didn't know and going to a brand new school. I mean, there's so many times where I kind of thought the world was ending and I wanted to cry sometimes and just think, man, I'm not a fit for this. And, that life's really, really tough. And same with my first job, right? Maybe you're the same way. Maybe, you had your first job and it was horrible. It was brutal. You were scared to death, right? And then, 2021 and 2020 hits with COVID and all these changes going on. And these all seem horrible. And so I'm telling you that just to say that, there's always tough times. There's always going to be good times. It ebbs and flows. There's no one's life that's just always perfect and there's no issues. There's always going to be some ups and downs. And that also means there's always going to be exciting things ahead. What I've found in general, and I've only done this for a few years, but it's worked 100% of the time, is this whole picking a word. And then you have to have obedience, and then you have to have faith to back this up. But picking a word and praying over this, regardless if you're hearing this the day it comes out here at the very end of the year, or if it's already 2022, take some time away from everything, from the distractions, etc. I love going out in the woods or out on the water. I feel like I'm closer with God there, and just kind of praying over a word. Right? Just, that God gives you and delivers you one word to focus on for yourself, could be your entire family. I shared mine with all of you. Gosh, I guess it was 2 years ago. It was abundance. So it was right when we started this podcast, and I felt God was calling me to really hammer home this word abundance. And that doesn't mean money. Yes, money came along with that, but abundance in everything. And what was interesting, and this is something I pray on it every morning and every night. So at least twice a day, I'm literally dwelling over this word abundance, that God floods me with abundance, that abundance is coming into my life. And what was interesting, that was around the time where that book someone randomly mentioned this book. It was The Compounding Effect, I believe. Yeah, it was A Compounding Effect. It was a business book, right? And in one of the chapters, it talked about relationships. I was about to skip it over because, I don't really care about relationships. I'm trying to make money here, and I obviously listened to it, and it was an idea about just writing a little journal, something every day about why you love your spouse. And for me, obviously, it's my wife, Lauren. And so I did it, and it literally changed our entire relationship. And that was abundance, right? I mean, I had massive abundance in our relationship. We had just more fun. We were closer than ever before. And it was all because I happened to read that one book. And isn't it wild that God puts all the right things and the right ideas and the right people and the right opportunities into your life, into your path, when you're praying and having obedience and faith over a single word. And it doesn't have to be abundance, obviously. It changes for everyone. Some of my friends, they've had years where it's been great, and it's giving, right? Or it's, just slowing down and rejoicing. That was a word that one of my buddies in C12, you just rejoicing in everything. And so it's going to be different for everyone. Everyone's going through different cycles, right? Everyone's got different things going on in their life. Some of it's recovery, right? There's many of us who are recovering from health issues or, massive surgeries. I mean, there's a myriad of things that it could be for you. So I'm not trying to ever put words in your mouth, but pray over it. And usually your heart will tell you when you're onto something right. And just make sure it's from God, not from you. It can't be like, oh, I want to be a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever it is. It needs to be something that really truly comes from the heart. Mine, I just knew it was abundance. We had been basically not harvesting for so many years. When Luke and I started Salt Strong, we knew that's what we were called to do, right? And we knew it was going to be tough. We knew the first couple of years we didn't pay ourselves a penny, and so we planted seeds, and we just kept planting and toiling the soil, and literally just we were farmers and farming as best we could, and getting the right team members on, and sacrificing again, having to not pay ourselves so that we could pay other people to bring the right team on board. And it was finally time. I mean, it took us really a good 4.5, 5 years before we really started harvesting anything from that. And that was why I just knew we were called to have an abundant year, and not just money wise and taking the harvesting, but in everything, and in my 3 children's lives, and with my spouse, and with my walk with God. And that was around the time this podcast starting to get big, this Unchurched podcast. I mean, it was crazy that everything in my life that year literally became more abundant. When I talked about that with my spouse, we prayed on it every single night in bed. We would pray that God would just flood us with his favor, and just give us abundance for this year. And like I said, it could be rest and retreat for some people. It's going to be different for everyone. But I would say, pick that word. And then number 2 is around the faith with God, right? So many people say they want abundance, or they want good health, or it's love, or whatever it might be. But yet, we're not doing everything we can to enable God to bless us with that favor, right? So this is a big question, right? Are you doing everything you can to enable God to bless you with his favor, to make this word come true in your life? And that's a tough one, right? Many times we sabotage ourselves. I've had multiple podcasts in the last year where I talk about the self-sabotage we do, where we're either we're talking down upon ourselves, or letting the devil get inside of our heads, or just having no self-control and doing the opposite of what we know we should. None of us are perfect. I do it all the time, but I find myself constantly, especially when I have a word of focus, like, all right, I'm not going to have abundance if I'm doing this, right? I'm not going to have abundance this year if I go down this path and make this decision. And that's where you have to have self-control, and you have to do everything you can to enable God to bless you with his favor, right? I mean, and I heard that in the past, even like let's just take money, because it's something everyone can relate to. We all have to have it really to survive. And I always heard that, God's going to bless you more when you're being wise with your money. It's right there in the Bible many times, right? And it literally says that you will be blessed more when you do what is wise with your money, right? If you sit there and blow it on stupid stuff, and you're not being generous and helping others and using it to make an impact, then you're probably not going to get that much more of it for very long. At some point, it will dry up. And I saw that happen in my own life. When I was younger, in my 20s, God was blessing me like crazy, and I got sloppy. I just thought it was going to keep happening forever. I stopped going to church. I stopped tithing the way I should. And guess what? The sucker, it dried up, and it dried up fast. And it was just like I sat there scratching my head saying, well, what the heck happened? And I had to go back to the roots. I had to go back to what worked. And it's the stuff I'm talking about here, right? It's being wise with it. And in that year of abundance, we gave away more. Even the very beginning, when we didn't have the money to give away, it was tough. My wife and I had multiple, I will say, nice arguments about, can we really afford to give this $1,000 to this church or this group this month? And it was tough sometimes because we didn't have it. I mean, we're trying to save for our house and all that. And we're like, all right, it's got to come out of the savings to even do it. And yet we did it, and we just continue to keep being blessed. So you have to do everything you can to enable God to bless you with his favor, right? And sometimes you got to get out of the way and just put full faith and trust that he will take care of it. He already has the plans for you, right? And if you feel like you're called to do whatever it is, or to go a certain route, at some point you just got to get out of the way and let it happen. The other part, is obedience. Obedience is a really, really big one. I mean, it is a test. I mean, God is testing us all the time with money, and how we handle ourselves, and how we speak to others, and how we treat others, and how we love others, right? Obey, and you will get God's favor, right? And that means everything from being generous and to giving and to loving and to how you talk to people and how you talk about people behind their back. Obey, and you will get God's favor. But I want you just to think real big. Spend some time. For me, it's on the water or out in nature. Usually around the first of the year, we head up to my wife's family has a farmhouse in Georgia, and there's no internet, there's no TV. It's just getting away and old school, talking with people and playing board games and sitting around a fire and going hiking and fishing in the little ponds they have there. And usually, every single year, I go out by myself once or twice early in the morning before anyone gets up, and I just hike around the woods. And there's a couple tree stands in there, and I'll just kind of watch the deer, and that's when I pray and I just kind of listen. And I'm listening to God, and that's many times where this word or this idea or even just a notion of something I'm supposed to do next kind of just pops into my head. It's wild and surreal, and it's tough to explain if you've never had it happen. And I think that's when people say, "Yeah, I heard from God," or "I got this vision." I mean, a lot of times it happens in places like that. And for me, it's been in the outdoors. It's not been inside. It's been when I'm usually out on the water or out in the woods by myself, just in a quiet place. It's amazing when you just ask that many times you will receive. And a lot of times it's not when you want to, meaning it's not always on your time, it's on God's time. Remember, God does not make mistakes. His timing is perfect, but you have to do everything you can to enable God to bless you with his favor. So that's really the message. I want to just highlight that word of the year. It's so important. I have mine. I'm not going to share it yet because I'm still been praying on it, but it feels like it is the one. It's hit me a couple of different times here for 2022, and I'm really excited about it. I will share it on a future podcast, but not ready because it just finally kind of hit me. And to me, it was in a little bit of a dream. And I kind of heard the word once, and I remember writing it down the next morning, and then it's come up again. And I just feel like this is the word, and this is the way that we're going to be taking the family and being able to bless others for 2022. So I'm really, really excited. And here's what's really neat too. That word abundance that I picked, that was 2020, right? That was a crazy year. And there were times, I won't lie, because I've said that word day and night, January, February, March. And remember what happened in March of 2020, COVID, right? And all of a sudden the economy's collapsing, and we're losing people in our company, and it was nuts. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have full faith. I'm going to be obedient, God. You've given me the word. I'm sticking with it. And it was the best year ever, right? For everything, even for the family, right? We freaked out thinking that everything was horrible. It was tough, but looking back, this was a really special time. I remember the days with my kids home and me spending more time with them versus them being at school all day, and then after school activities, and me getting home and we have a quick dinner and everyone's kind of in bed. Those are really special times. So everything was abundant, but I absolutely had to have faith, and I had to be obedient and trust that even though, what the news and what society was saying, this is going to be a horrible year and it's the worst year ever. And it was a pandemic. It was a hard year. I mean, millions and millions of people died. It was really tough. People lost jobs. And yet it was the most abundant year I've ever had in my life. And I truly believe it was because I had 100% faith, and I was obedient. I wasn't perfect, and I had a couple doubts, but every time I did, I said, God, I'm going all in with you. You told me this is the word. We're going to do it. Regardless of what's happening around me, I'm staying focused on you. I know you're going to protect me and my family. And this is going to be an abundant year filled with love and with hope and with generosity and with family. And it was an overall just an amazing year. So I encourage you to find that word, and I'd love to hear it. If you're willing to share it, shoot me an email, or obviously put it in the comments. I feel like everyone likes to email me, which is cool. They all come to my private email, Joe, Joe @saltstrong.com. So it's Joe @saltstrong.com. strong, like muscle.com. I love to hear from you. I love getting emails from you amazing listeners. And I'll be praying for you guys that it's a massive and just an amazing and abundant and impactful year of 2022. Remember, it's not about the money and the stuff you get and new cars and all that. I think that stuff's good. And I think you deserve it if you're making a massive impact. But to me, it's about love, right? It's about building relationships, and it is about giving, and it's about worshiping God and putting Him first in our lives. And I think when we do that, the pieces fall into place. Looking back at the overall best years of my life, it's when I do all that stuff, right? Where I'm focused on being healthy and protecting my body, which is something that God gave us, right? And I'm doing the right things, and I'm putting God first in my life, and I'm walking with God, and I'm talking to Him every morning and at night, and I'm picking a word that He plants in my head, and I'm sticking with it and having full faith, and I'm being obedient. That's when good things happen. And the years that have been bad are when I do the opposite. This is when I put me first, and it's all about me, and the selfish stuff first. And that's tough because we all are kind of wired that way. It's who we are, but you got to snap out of it. And if I love people challenging me, including especially my wife, if I ever go down the path, she's like, all right, you're being selfish. You need to turn that little switch off and turn the right one on. So I'll be praying for all you guys. Pray for me too, that we do have just a great year, and then we impact millions and millions of people, through Salt Strong. That's kind of really my big passion right now. And then, that I'm just a great husband and a great dad, and I don't forget all the amazing things I have here at home. So love you guys. Hope you have an amazing new year. If you're listening to this before January 1st, and if it's already 2022, go crush it this year. Make a massive, massive impact. Find your purpose, live it out, and have obedience. Obey, and you will get God's favor. Peace. I'm out.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was passed down to me from the days of old. Find us on the water.